This is the Volvo V40 Cross Country, and it's a jacked up version of the Swedish hatchback. Now, Volvo actually came up with this formula of soft roaders which bridges the gap between normal family cars and hatchbacks with the XC70 back in 1997, and that's a formula that Audi has gone and copied with its all-road models.
The Cross Country features a raft of extra body cladding to make it seem more rugged. It also rides on 40mm taller suspension, which will really help when traversing those inner city speed humps.
One of the advantages of that raised ride height is that if you've got a child seat here and you need to bend down to deal with the baby, you don't have to bend down quite so far, which is a good thing, though I should point out that the V40, if you look, has quite narrow rear door openings, so fitting that child seat in the first place is a bit more awkward. Your elderly relatives will like the raised ride height as well, because it'll make it a little bit easier for them and their aged backs to get into the car. And overall, I do like the back seats on the V40. Now, what Volvo have done is move the two outer seats inwards slightly, so you get more shoulder room when there's just two of you sat here. The downside of that is that this middle seat is really narrow, so it feels like a right old squeeze when there's three of you in the back, so it's really only good for two people in the back of this car. Knee room, that's pretty good. Headroom, if I sit up straight, now I'm 5'11", and my head, it's touching the roof, but that's because this car has the optional panoramic sunroof. If you don't have that, there is enough headroom. In fact, if you see my review of the normal V40 hatchback, it has the normal roof, it doesn't have the panoramic glass sunroof, and you'll see in that video I have enough space in the back of that car. You should also check out that video anyway, because I show off some of the V40's excellent safety features.
There's plenty of cubby spaces in the rear of the car and more still in the front. In fact, the glove box is as big as it gets on this sort of car. Meanwhile, the minimalist Swedish design is easy on the eye, and there's that level of quality you'd expect from a premium brand such as Volvo.
Obviously, the key advantage of that raised ride height when you're driving is the fact that you sit higher than in other cars, so you get a better view out over traffic. It also means you've got more suspension travel, so the V40 Cross Country just deals with bumps that little bit better than the normal hatchback, though it never feels like sloppy. It's quite a firm car and it rides very well. It's only like undulations in the road where you get a slight bounce of the cabin, but overall it's nice and comfortable. It handles reasonably well as well, although there is a bit more roll in the corners because you are sitting higher than in the normal car.
You may be thinking, well, so what? This car has off-road capability. But really, it doesn't, you see. There is only one engine which comes with all-wheel drive, and that's the very thirsty 5-cylinder turbo petrol, and no one buys that. It's a real shame actually, because it would be great if you could get four-wheel drive on the excellent smooth punchy diesels.
And that's a real shame, because the diesels, they're just so good, and let's face it, they're what everyone buys in this kind of car anyway. And the one in this one, it's a 2 litre, it has 190 horsepower, and it'll do 0 to 60 in just 7.7 seconds, and it's really responsive. You put your foot down and there we go, it just takes off. Yet Volvo says that if you drive it carefully, it will return 70 miles per gallon. Now, I reset the trip computer earlier and I clearly haven't been driving it very carefully, because I've only averaged 44.8 miles per gallon. There are some things with this car though that I'm not so keen on, and that's the fact that for me it's just a little bit pointless. I mean, you pay £1,000 extra for the Cross Country model over the normal hatchback, and really all you're getting for that is that body cladding and the raised ride height. And you've got to watch the options as well, because Volvo options are very expensive. The sat-nav costs an extra 1,200 quid. And while I've been a bit of a moan about this car, the clutch. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the clutch. It's almost like the clutch pedal is, well, it's got glue caught in the mechanism because it's a bit squidgy and sticky.
Then there's the boot. The size is okay, and with the movable floor in its highest position, with the seats folded, you get a flat low bay. The issue though is that the V40's boot opening is very narrow compared to other premium hatchbacks.
But if you really do yearn after a jacked up premium hatchback, then your choices are pretty limited at the moment to this, or maybe the Mercedes GLA, which you can watch our video review of by clicking up here. You could probably go for a more traditional SUV for a similar money actually, such as the Mazda CX-5, and you can watch our review of that by clicking down here. If you click down here, you can see our very latest video review, and if you click up there on our logo, you can subscribe to our channel.